Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Talk Show, the CVRcade podcast that I think is quickly becoming one of my favorite things to do every week, sitting down with Beth York, with Victor Lundquist, to discuss everything going on in the community, because, guys, it started as like a fun idea, and now, I legitimately look forward to doing this.
I
Yep.
definitely look forward to doing this. It's kind of like what we wish we had a chance just to kind of sit around and hang out and have coffee or at the water cooler and just talk shop, right? So might as well record it. There you go. I've got an
Exactly.
industrial size
Wow.
coffee.
Wait, let's not to compare sizes, but I think you're winning, Beth.
Well, I think yours is the very European espresso, and mine is sort
Mhm.
of like the light brown water with lots of cream and sugar.
Oh my god, that reminds me so much of the peeps chat that we had on Tuesday. Never, there are two moments in my broadcasting career in Kate where I've been thrown off my game. The first was Timothy, one of my best friends crying. I didn't really know what to do. The second bit is Frank comparing peeps, this very, childlike friendly, marshmallow, whatever it is, to cocaine! What? Oh my goodness, guys. I mean, Beth, what did you start yesterday?
I don't know. I think it started because I was having a peep in between races, and I think it was either caught on screen or someone was like, "Oh, what are you eating?" And it was you, Jesper. You asked me what I was eating.
Guilty.
Yes, because it looked unusual, right? It wasn't like me just squeezing, some gel or like popping a shot block or something. It was like this like green mound of whatever, and it was a Christmas tree peep, which it's a American treat that kind of started around the Easter time frame as little like birds and chickens or whatever, and then it's kind of morphed to a year-round candy that they have ghosts at Halloween. And anyway, it's one of my favorite things, and I got caught on camera eating it, and then it just kind of sent us down a path.
Now,
Down you go.
you should have seen Victor yesterday because Victor can't hear the broadcast. It's just me. And so he did not understand what was so funny. He didn't, the looks I was getting from you, Vic, last night. I was afraid. I'm like, should I be taking another step here apart? But you were like, Jesper, how have you never heard a piece before? Like, how do you even know Vic?
Yeah, honestly, I think I face palmed a few times. I was
Yes.
like, Jesper, especially you. You've been in the U.S. before. I've never been.
Doesn't mean I
so
know everything about the US.
It's a common treat. Like peeps are normal. But yeah, it was so weird because you have this routine of a stream. Like you kind of know how it play out. But then I was like, wait, what is happening? I can just hear Jesper talk about peeps and then cocaine. Or is this the CVR World Cup or have we accidentally got into some different form of stream? But I definitely looking back, I did a few highlights yesterday. That was incredibly entertaining, and I feel like these two practice days is definitely more like a casual feel, which I think it's good to have the proper serious Saturday, the bracketed tournament, whatever. That's super cool. But also you can see the community come together and just talk about treats for a few hours. And it was hilarious.
It's what we needed, but what it kind of also reminded me of is that the racing is so good. Because I was actually really bummed out that everybody didn't race it hard on Tuesday. Because I sit down or I stand up when I commentate, and I'm ready. I'm like, we're gonna have high quality racing. But then you've got people just I spoke to Vibeke prior to the racing, and she's like, I'm not gonna go hard today. I just want to practice this corner. I want to practice this power up, and I want to get better for Saturday. But I appreciate it and I respect it, but guys, the racing on this platform is too addicting. I just sit there and going we're getting cheated out of some good racing here. We have to wait until Saturday, and I mean that speaks volumes to the platform. But Beth, where do you stand on this whole practice thing? Because you also had to commentate yesterday.
Yeah, so I did both. I practiced in K, a little bit of L, and then commented on T last night. And we have nice levity in the commentary, but even though people weren't racing their brains out, I think they were testing a lot of things that they might try on Saturday. So we know that some people didn't stream, some people are doing their private practice events. So although we're like, ha 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 ha, peeps, they're all like, oh, I'm not showing you what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I was even saying last night with Daniel, Daniel went really, really hard. He and Luis did some teamwork together. They They did on Lakeview Lane specifically. They used the path of least resistance and uncrashable at the finish. So I think that sort of testing the combination of power ups where you might want to use them. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like making my notes of like, this is what this person might do. This is what this person might do. And then I think they could just be completely messing with my head and do none of the things that they did yesterday, because either they thought there's a better place for it or whatever. So it's the mind games are continuing. We had Casey in the earlier zones. I was laughing at Casey completely talking smack, even at me. Like, it was funnier when he was doing it to someone else. But he's like, I love you, Beth. And I'm like, I love you too, man. But it's really shaping up. So I like the practice because it does add a little levity. But make no mistake, the racers are being very serious.
It's like this trash talking, it's all fun and games, but every trash talking comes from a point of like truth and realness. And so Quentin, Timothy, Casey yesterday, like, yes, it may be slightly play for the gallery, a bit of a fakeness, but I don't think it is. When Casey's like, oh, you can crash in the last corner, which by the way went right over my head the first time. I picked it up the second time.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's an insult. That's a good one.
It's so like, I honestly think we didn't see any blocking in the bracketed session tournament, but now that we've adding up the amount of riders in an Omnium, we have unlimited in the first and the quarterfinals and the lower bracket. Like, you're gonna see like blocking. You're gonna see people get so angry, and it's gonna be fun to watch. And like Vic, this whole practice thing, this whole trash talking that's going on, like it's gonna come back to haunt these guys.
Yeah, it will. I definitely think like it'd be really interesting if anything said yesterday will get to someone's head, because especially like Lakeview lanes, we saw a few tactics like Timothy doing stuff and Casey talking smack, and I think once we come to Saturday, the quarterfinal where everyone has to race like all these races, the 8 races in a row. I feel like when you come to Lakeview Lane, it'll be like, oh, well, this happened back in Tuesday. It's like, I don't want to make the mistake now when the real money is on the line. And I feel like it's all mind games. It's all just like, if you can get into your opponent's head, you've won. You've won already. And I feel that is what's happening. So, yes, it's all banter, all fun, like, haha, whatever, crash in the last corner. But there's definitely truth behind all of the statements.
Now, Beth, you suit up again to race. We saw you race in the bracketed session tournament. Unfortunately, you went out before it got fun. Now you get another chance. I mean, what is your preparation like for this? You've got the big 8-man or 8-race Omnium up first.
Well, I think it's nice to be back in it, and I know that even if the first and the quarterfinals on Saturday, I still will be racing on Sunday regardless of my placement, just because the way that the brackets are, the best of the rest. So I hope I'm in that top echelon, but who knows? I'm excited, and yesterday on Lakeview Lanes, I just want to say, Niels, I did not intentionally block you. It was my second Lakeview Lanes, and I was like, I'm like, oh crap, he's behind me, and then he like blew past me, and I swear I could read on the back of his jersey being like, Beth, and then I was like trying to catch up to him, and every time I was trying to like echelon with him, he's like, no, I am not playing with you. So at that point, I wish I could have communicated in the game with him that I'm like, ah. But yeah, so a lot of the over time, these storylines, and as Vic is saying, like what people say to get in your heads. I mean, Casey was so quick with those little fire like last yesterday. He was just really quick with it when it went over your head. That's so funny. Yeah, he was having a really good time. And as we said in our earlier podcast, it was really fun to have these on-screen personalities come out. And Homer came in third in his Omnium. He was trying out some new stuff, which, by the way, he's practiced on Rise and Rip. I just want to say he's a regular, and he comes and we practice all kinds of things. So it was fun to see him come out to play. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be intense. We'll figure out who allies with who, and then it's going to be every man for themselves.
I think what we're going to see, and Beth already did a bit of it, like apologizing to Nils. Now, everybody's going to get out that little blue book here of like every mistake, every block they've ever made, and they go, right, to Tim Fulford, I'd like to apologize for blocking on the 8th of December on Lakeview Lanes. To Jonathan Herone, like, I kind of feel like it's going to come down to your alliances and these mistakes. But Vic, like, now more than ever, endurance might come into play. Like, on Saturday, you've got 8 races. We haven't seen how the lower brackets racing is going to shape up. All I can see is it's 45 minutes for the lower bracket and the semifinals. But I'd imagine that the finals get quite long. I mean, this is where we get riders who get a second chance. They failed. They didn't win the bracketed session tournament. And this is the end of the line for this season.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see... like the difference between, because it was definitely different with the bracket session tournament, how it played out with the 4-man omniums. Now it'll be more endurance based, and I'll definitely think that someone, like there will be an upset. Like Saturday, someone big might go out, because I feel like if all racers are in together, it's going to be carnage, because there's no low skill event. There's a no skill event, but that's just warm up. The rest, you can crash, you can block someone, you can make someone crash, and I feel like definitely something is going to happen. And yeah, the endurance is going to come into play as well, because it's such a big difference. Like, I've been in that position myself of doing a hard effort, like a few hours in. That is really tough. And even with physical equalization, just to like be on your bike for that long period of time, super difficult. So definitely I'm expecting upsets. I'm expecting good racing, and I feel like the real like fit people are going to shine in the latter stages of Saturday at least.
Interested to see who Vic thinks is the real fit people here, Beth.
Yeah, well, it's a kind of a very specific, unique fitness, because, having 8 races in 90 minutes of racing, rather than, we know a lot of these racers have gone back to back omniums, so they're fit to do a couple hours of hard racing. But the type of racing, it's not like you're just going out and time trialing and doing, a triathlon where you just sort of hammer at a fixed watts and go for hours. This is, burst and come back and burst. Oh, he's disappeared.
I think you went to shut off the washing machine you could hear in the background, so you'll be right back.
I was like, it's not something I said. I won't take it personally.
Well, we'll stick with that excuse.
Yeah, you're one
I
of
am
the fit
sorry.
ones. Exit stage left. But I do think that it's a unique kind of fitness that people have built over time, and recovery is going to be super important. We can talk more about food and recovery, but the races are. I mean, Tuesday we saw 4 of the races, and then we're gonna Thursday the second 4 of the races. So it'll be really interesting which races people kind of dial back on and which races they push on. And I think team play is going to come into it quite a bit, because Cognition is going to be out in full force, Vixen's going to be out in full force, Cycling Hub's going to be out in full force, and it's a different dynamic than 4 Up, because they're going to be the team interplay, and people are going to try to get the most number of teammates through, I think.
And on Thursday, we get to see Dark Matter Velo, Country Rally, Dust Bowl Crit. The technical part of the racing is back end of the last 4 races. That's going to be fun to see. I know Ben Shuilong reached out to me. He's like, Jesper, I'm not going to race Tuesday, unfortunately, because I'll be spending every breathing minute practicing Dark Matter Velo. I want to get better at that track. I want to get on through. And I respect the dedication, but we'll see if Ben can pull it on. But the teamwork, guys, it's really going to come down to this. Now, Cycling Hub could work together in the 4 Ups because they had they had a designated teammate. They had Quinton and Timothy, Tim and Nils. I mean, when they all come together as a unit, I love the Cycling Hub boys to death, but when there's 4 or 5 races all in this together, it's going to be tougher to establish a hierarchy. It's going to be tougher to have that dominance, because you maybe have Quinton and Tim who are equally as good at the game, but are they going to work together? They both want the money, they both want the fame. And then on the flip side, you have Cognition, who share the money. You heard Sebastian say, you know what, I've just made money for my team. They're all happy. Great to be on this team. It pays off. This is where it comes into play. Like, 4-up races, it's easier to do teamwork because there's less racers. But when you have this whole image, all these egos come together, it's gonna get difficult. But like, Vic, who do you give the advantage to when you look at it team oriented?
That is a very good question, Jesper. Like we saw yesterday with Luis and Daniel in T, they did quite well as a team. We also saw Aaron and Jennifer work together, so they could do well. But I definitely think it's between like Cognition, Vixen, like CCC, like these, like, I don't want to be like, oh, talk smack about the other teams, but I feel like those are like the big, like, core teams of the game. And especially now, there's a new dynamic. Like, Moti's going to race. I'm assuming he's going to race the grand finale, which is definitely going to change it up because he wasn't around for the bracket tournament. So I definitely feel like Cycling Hub, they're a bit more like individuals. I think like there's egos like matching, like, oh, I'm better than you, I'm better than you. Like, that might not be true, but we've seen some moments that kind of speaks that way. I feel like Cognition is more like, right, we're a team, we're going to work together. Yes, I'll sacrifice myself for you. I don't have the best day. So I definitely feel like Cognition versus Cycling Hub is definitely going to be a key role of the grand finale like tournament. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. I think like we should definitely speak about this because like, what do you feel like about like Moti playing like the key role as Cognition? Do you think that like, is that going to make a difference?
Beth?
Well, I mean, we're hitting on a couple things. One is how the teams are structured and how they're pooling their prizes, and we did hear from Modi about how they, Cognition does pool and how they work together in that way to incentivize their riders to do that. And in contrast to that is the Cycling Hub model, and I think everyone else is kind of figuring out, wait, how are we going to structure ourselves? But in a more traditional sense, they're kind of every man for themselves, although they display the most incredible teamwork in terms of helping each other out and trying to get as many forward in the bracketed session. So with Modi coming back into play as a team leader, the team leadership, I think, is really important because you need someone calling the shots and you need someone reacting to it. So yesterday, Daniel and Luis were trying to get some things together and work some things out, and maybe test some tactics so that when you have your captain and director sportif saying, no, do this and reacting to the racing, I think it's going to make a big difference when they're all out in force. And Modi is, and even Allison, I know that she calls the shots a lot too. I don't want to discredit any of the teammates, but with Modi having the top seed, I think it's going to really give them some leadership and some direction in the racing this weekend.
In defense of Cycling Hub as well, the reason why they are so strong is the ego, like the part that they all have so confident in the way they race. Like as individual, they come together and race as a team, so don't discredit them whatsoever.
No, that wasn't meant. Yeah, for sure. For sure. That wasn't meant to discredit them at all. That is what's remarkable about, there's this confidence of having trust in each other, where they know the other person's going to deliver. It's really incredible to see that confidence. And I love it when Tim's like, I just won another Omnium. So that's a good day. And, Neil's a second. And it's great. The confidence in I think Frank's talked a lot about that in the last few races, is that the confidence that you need to carry bringing in. And I think that's where Cognition might be at a little bit of a deficit, is on the confidence, because Modi has had a break. You do get rusty. We've seen it with other racers who have taken a little break and come back. And when I say a little break, it's not like you miss one Tuesday or Thursday and you're like, oh wait, right. How do you do this again? I mean, it's true. It's insane how your mind softens and your reaction time changes. And so I think going into it, Cycling Hub is poised really well because they have the confidence and cognition might be just because they've been out of the racing for, Modi particularly for a week or so. But I bet he's secretly practicing with his team.
Yes. Like, he's probably sitting there doing every physical replay known to man. But I also think that you may end up losing your edge if you are pooling the money. Now, I've never been in a situation where I would be pooling the money with other riders. But I would assume that there's a tiny bit of like, well, somebody else is always going to qualify on through. I mean, I've done my bit. I'm a teammate. Now it's time for these guys to take home the rest of the dough. And that's where Cycling Hub are like, no, I'm here. I earned my right. I'm the best of the team. Watch me now. And that's also why it's so heartbreaking to see them go out. But it's gonna be good. Like, I honestly cannot wait to see what the racing brings this coming weekend, because like the last Saturday was the best racing we've ever seen, and now we get to do it again. I think a disadvantage that Team CVR has had, and the reason why they haven't succeeded much lately, is that Frank is now in the commentary booth. Now, Frank is like the ultimate strategist, and like he takes it so seriously when it comes to the racing, with the rightful doing so because he's in love with the platform. But he's now in the booth. He's chatting to me, he's chatting to Beth, which means he's not chatting to Kayla, not chatting to Rick, to Vanessa, to Jennifer, to Aaron. And that's why they seem to have lost their edge. I mean, when is the last time CVR has taken an Omnium?
It's been a while.
Yeah. I mean, it does speak to the leadership that we were saying earlier about Modi, like having someone respond quickly to that. But I think Kayla is, sharpening up her pencil here. We saw Jennifer and Aaron really do some great stuff yesterday in Zone T on Echelon specifically, in terms of how they were handling their attacks and covering and continuing. And so I think that, we're going to see more on Thursday what people are going to bring. But I haven't seen Rick. Rick did a little bit of racing, so I hope he comes out to play, to work with Kayla, with Vanessa and Kinjal, to kind of bring them back.
Now, I think we need to do a bit of a prediction, because that was always fun. We were pretty spot on, the three of us, when it came to the tournament. Victor, of course, is leading the prediction rally 1-0, but Beth, you and I were not far down with second and third. Now, we have got the grand finale coming up. Totally different racing. Vic, I'll let you go first. Throughout all the racing we're going to see on Saturday and Sunday, who do you think will emerge victorious and why?
Oh, here we go again. I mean, I mean, the easy choice again would be Tim. I mean, he did win the bracket session tournament. I mean, he is the favorite. I feel like he said he was ill. Now, that usually means that, he has the best legs of all time. It's all like to get in someone's head. But yeah, I think it's difficult. I mean, the issue with me is like I want to pick someone else, but like the true like I want to be right. I just cannot. I'm sorry, I just cannot pick anyone else but Tim, because he proved his worth. I mean, yes, it's like structured a tiny bit differently, but I feel, as I said before, I mentioned like fit racers, and I feel like Tim is definitely one of them. It feels like he shines in the ladder racing. And I do remember Frank mentioning, like, if you're on the limit, you make mistakes. And I feel like Tim is one of those few riders that you never see him make a mistake. And I feel like that will shine through. So a bit boring. I am very sorry, but I cannot predict anyone else.
Beth?
All right, so he's going with the the odds favorite. He's putting down the bets in Vegas, and he said, "Okay, you know what? But I'm just going to say something in contrast. I don't disagree with any of the things that you said where he's the favorite. He has proven time and time again that he doesn't make mistakes. He's kind of unshakable. Even I think one point he was pedaling with one leg and was stretching up over.
Yeah.
I think I also heard something that sounded like, I was like, oh God, no, please. I was like, oh, clip that. I might have heard some noises. But Casey doesn't have the teammates, but Casey's really good at working with people, and he's who I had chose in the bracketed session. And we know that he was not happy with third, so he's coming out with a very serious intentioned racing. But I'm going to put it on Modi. And I'm going to call Modi because I think that team cognition, what they're trying to accomplish, I think that they have a lot to prove as a team, and I know they want to grow their team. So from a team objective, like if they could like hang, a sign on their door that says, racers wanted, join the team, and put themselves in a little bit of a contrast to some of the other way the teams are set up. I think that I think that selflessness of Modi, and maybe Modi's like, no, it's Allison's day. We decided a long time ago it was going to be for Allison. So the team cognition, we know Sebastian has it too, but I think because Modi didn't race, I think he wants to come out and prove why he was the top seed in the bracketed session and really take down Tim and put his name and say, yeah, and also Modi doesn't make mistakes.
For a second there, I was going to be like, guys, are you seriously picking both the same riders from the bracketed
No!
session tournament?
No,
I was like,
no.
we're gonna have a talk behind the shed, but no, I think honorable mentions. Casey, Sebastian, obviously the runners up, the second and third, they have to be mentioned. They will do better. Sebastian is strong, but he seems to lack a tiny bit the technical ability to stay upright and not make mistakes. I think Casey lacks a bit of the physical ability to dig deep. I think he's gone so incredibly deep on the platform that his curve is not very forgiving, and that also plays in when you've got longer racing. Moti is a great shot. I think Ben deserves a shot as well. If he can finally figure out how to not crash on Dark Matter Velo, he's got a good chance to go on through. I think he's just so angry, but the only person that I see beating Tim, because I think Tim is the man to beat and he showed it, I think is Quinten Molinez. I think if anyone's going to beat Tim, it's going to be his teammate, Quinten, because like those two, they're so competitive. Quinten is so incredibly good at CVRcade, and he kind of gets looked over because you've got somebody on the same team who is equally as good, but he just seems to win a tiny bit more. And I think the anger that Quinten displayed, the fact that he refused to be on the broadcast Tuesday, like for him, this is all or nothing. He either wins on Saturday and Sunday, or he never ever touches CVRcade again. So I think with that anger, that rage, if he can control it, if he doesn't let it get the better of him, I think Quinten Molinez is gonna win this grand finale. And guys, I mean, winning the bracket session is cool, but now there's more money on the line. There's $5,000. Would you rather be the bracketed session champion or the CVRcade world champion?
Yeah,
I mean,
this is the big money.
now for me, I'd take either of them, but I mean, I'm not
yeah,
racing.
Yeah, as long as those check cash, right? Like, let me tell you, no. I really feel like I got to figure out what I need to tap into. Is it because I have such a good time on the platform and I'm super competitive? We could have. I remember my roommate and I used to have like we would jump rope and have a contest on jumping rope. Dumb stuff. Compete over anything. But I don't have the inner rage that you might have been talking about. I don't have like the huge super like. I mean, I have an ego; it's pretty healthy, but so I'm like trying to figure out like what is it that a racer needs to tap into to do it? Because Ben is pretty chill, right? Ben is competitive. He's chill. He's obviously super talented. What do you think these racers really need to do besides the money? Like, what is it that's really going to make them upset a Quinten or upset a Tim?
It's the confidence. Like, it has to be. What Ben did to Tim and Niels on Saturn, like, you have to practice. You have to find the next niche. Because you heard Tim in the broadcast on Tuesday. He said, it's kind of cute that Cycling Hell comes up with half of these strategies like a year ago, and now everybody else is catching up. In order to beat the best, you have to outsmart the best. And that's the only way, because like, let's be honest, you're not going to out-effort Tim Fulford. I mean, that guy, for some reason, he was born without nerves. Like, his entire, like, the system just goes, this hurts. I guess I can do a bit more.
It's just numb.
Yeah. And so in order to beat him, you have to do what Ben did on Saturn. You have to do your homework. You have to find something that, it's like in NFL, you have a trick play. Like you saw what the Eagles did to the Patriots. You got to have a Philly special coming the racing here. You really, really got to put in the homework. Vic?
Yeah, I definitely think so. You know, like I did talk about it a bit earlier, like about this upset. Now, you know, Tim is the clear favorite, and me saying that means that everyone thinks that. I mean,
Yes.
he won. And the crazy thing I just had in my mind is like, what if, you know, a team or a few of them just go out and hunt Tim? Because
Yeah.
if you get rid of the strongest player, then it's open, wide open. And I feel there's at least a bigger chance of that happening now with like the quarterfinal. There's more racers like per, you know, Omnium. And I feel like that could be a big upset. I do want to mention, because we haven't mentioned, but like Timothy, if he gets his head together and, you know, there is Dark Matter Velo in the quarterfinal, if he just puts his mind to it, I feel like he can win as well. And not to say Niels, I feel like I'm just naming all
You
the
want to put cycling
people.
up down as
No.
your ticket?
Well,
Yeah, I'm sorry, but like, yeah, I definitely feel like if they just, you know, put their mind to it, I feel like they can do it.
Beth?
Well, what you bring up is something really interesting, and it's not like, hunting one single person, but, throughout the bracketed session, throughout the open session, when, 4 or 5 people make a break and you have a chase pack and you have the chase pack with teammates that have people in the lead pack, that's where all the maneuvering comes in, right? Because they're trying to protect their rider that's in the front so no one can bridge over, right? So if you're always in the front group, you do not have a lot of experience countering those maneuvers, right? Like you haven't had to face it, and being someone that's always in the chase pack, I've got a lot of experience being blocked. I've got a lot of experience being driven into a rail. And yesterday I had kind of fun. I was surprised when, and it wasn't even intentional. Like I made Casey eat concrete, which I know that's in his notebook. We were talking about that maybe being a power up, a eat concrete power up, but that wouldn't be very nice. But I think that if you are sort of in where it gets kind of scrappy, you might have that much of an advantage of how to deal with that. But the racers that are at the front, if they are getting faced with that, as you say, Victor, it might disrupt some. And it's not just Tim, any of these racers that are used to being on the front that are used to being protected, they might have some different dynamics.
But, like, let's be honest. If somebody does go out and block Tim, like, you'd have to do it in the semifinals. Because if you do it in the quarterfinals, Tim just goes on and qualifies through the lower bracket. Same goes for Sebastian, Casey, Moti, whoever you block. So it has to be a winner or go home, which is the semifinals or the finals. And if you do it, you most likely take yourself out. And so, do you really want to take your own chances out? And even if you do it, a guy like Tim, a guy like Sebastian, guys like Casey, if you block them, they just put in an effort and they fight their way back up. Now, they burn a match. So in order to really take them out of the racing, if you were to do the negative racing, the defensive racing, you'd have to do it again and again and again and again. And I honestly don't think anyone on the platform has the strength to continuously block somebody that many times in succession. Because it's not as easy as it looks.
No, and also, what I saw yesterday in the racing on Tuesday was that people know, some people need to use their power ups to get back, to recover from a mistake, and so they're trying to react, right? And it's like the initiate and react. So if you got dropped and you need to dump your power-ups to get back, and then someone attacks using their power-ups, you don't have the same ability to react and respond. So there's just sort of another level of gameplay where you might not be successful anyway. And when we talk about brake checking and blocking, that's a completely different thing, because you can throw someone into the wrong lane on country rally. You can anticipate, someone sliding out in a corner, which are also kind of defensive moves, right? But it's sort of that initiation and reaction, and the best racers initiate the moves and don't have to respond to the moves. So the initiators are the ones that win, and the reactors are the one that makes mistakes, and then you spend it early. So, in my mind, I keep thinking, how can I be an initiator and not a reactor?
But that's the mindset. That is honestly the key to success. Like, you have to be the one making other people hurt, because the one getting hurt, it's so difficult to get back on. But I think that rounds up our little chat here, a fireside gathering for the grand finale. It's our last little prediction. Next time you see us, it'll be after season 1 of the CVRcade World Cup. I've thoroughly enjoyed being a commentator on the World Cup. I can't wait to see what next year bring. Hopefully we get some more racers. I mean, the personalities are finally starting to flourish through the broadcast. I think next year is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see who wins it. You've got our predictions. I want you on CVRcade Riders or on the video on YouTube. Give us your prediction. Who do you think will win and why? But from all of us, thank you so much for your continued support. The average watch time of these videos are absolutely insane. I think on average, like, you guys listen to like a cumulative 7 hours of us sitting here chatting about CV Arcade. Like, that's a whole work day there, guys. So thank you so much. I hope to see you for Saturday and Sunday, but until then, we'll see ya.